When people talk about innovation in crypto, the conversation almost always circles back to one critical thing: how blockchain connects to the real world. Smart contracts by design are closed systems. They don't naturally know what's happening in the real world. They can't fetch weather data. They don't know sports scores. They don't know price feeds unless someone provides it. And that, for years, has been the biggest challenge in decentralized finance and blockchain adoption. How do we feed reliable, tamper-proof real-world data into smart contracts? For years, the answer was Chainlink, which has grown into the default name in oracles. But lately, another name has been rising fast, catching serious attention, not just from crypto insiders, but from investors worldwide. And that name is API3. Now, if you're hearing about API3 for the first time, the name itself gives you a hint. APIs, the application programming interfaces that power virtually everything we do in the digital world, are the backbone of modern apps. They let apps talk to each other, share data, and function seamlessly. Whether you're calling an Uber, checking the weather, streaming a movie, or looking up stock prices, APIs are what make those experiences work. API3's vision is bold but also incredibly straightforward. Bring APIs directly onto the blockchain in a decentralized way so that dApps, decentralized applications, don't need to rely on middlemen to get trustworthy data. Instead of having a third-party Oracle network collect and serve that data, API3 empowers the providers themselves to deliver it directly on-chain. This cuts out layers of risk, removes extra fees, and builds a much more secure bridge between the real world and blockchain applications. That vision alone is enough to turn heads, but what's really interesting, and what's fueling a lot of the current momentum behind API3, is how it positions itself as a next-generation alternative to traditional oracles. Instead of saying, "We'll run a big, complicated network to grab your data for you," API3 is saying, "Let's give the tools to the data providers themselves so they can plug into Web3 directly." This makes data feeds cleaner, faster, and harder to manipulate. It also makes adoption easier, because companies that already provide APIs in the Web2 world can extend their services into blockchain ecosystems without outsourcing to third-party middle layers. That's a powerful value proposition. So why is API3 pumping right now? There are a few key reasons, and they're worth unpacking carefully. First, and most obviously, the market is shifting its focus back toward projects with real-world utility. We're coming off cycles dominated by memes and hype coins, and investors are starting to reallocate capital toward protocols that actually solve problems. API3 fits that bill perfectly. It's not a speculative meme. It's a layer of infrastructure that blockchains simply can't scale without. Second, API3 has been rolling out major updates to its ecosystem. One of the biggest is the expansion of what they call air nodes. Think of an air node as a plug-and-play Oracle node that lets API providers connect their existing services directly to blockchains without needing deep blockchain expertise. Instead of hiring a whole Web3 team, an API provider can run an air node and instantly start delivering trustworthy data to smart contracts. This technology massively lowers the barrier to entry and is being adopted by a growing roster of providers. Each new integration adds credibility and creates fresh demand for the API3 token. Another factor in the pump is the general resurgence of interest in the Oracle narrative. Every cycle in crypto, certain narratives catch fire: AI coins, gaming, decentralized storage, layer 2 scaling solutions, meme coins, you name it. Right now, oracles are making their comeback as DeFi applications become more sophisticated and more reliant on accurate real-time data. You can't build decentralized insurance, decentralized derivatives, or prediction markets without oracles. Investors are realizing that oracles aren't just useful, they're indispensable. That realization is pushing capital toward projects like Chainlink, Band Protocol, and API3. But among those, API3 has a fresh story. It's smaller, it's newer, and it feels like it has more room to grow. Chainlink has already had its massive bull runs and sits at a high market cap. API3, by contrast, still feels early. It has room for explosive growth if adoption picks up in the way its supporters believe it will. On the technical side, The tokenomics of API3 also support long-term appreciation if demand grows. API3 isn't just a governance token. It's staked by participants to secure the network. It underpins the Oracle services, and it creates incentives for quality data delivery. Holders can stake API3 tokens in the DAO to participate in governance and earn rewards, meaning the token has both utility and an incentive mechanism that encourages long-term holding rather than constant dumping. Now, the question everyone asks in moments like this is, can API3 hit $10? At today's prices, that feels ambitious but not unrealistic. API3 has already shown in previous cycles that it can surge aggressively when momentum is on its side. In 2021, it touched highs above $9 when the Oracle narrative was hot. Given that history and given its current price of under $2, a return to $10 isn't fantasy. It's a target that many traders consider plausible in the next major bull market if adoption continues at the pace it's showing. That being said, whether API3 is safe as an investment is a different conversation. Safety in crypto is always relative. On one hand, API3 has a legitimate use case, an active development team, a functioning DAO, and real integrations that puts it in a much stronger category than random meme tokens or vaporware projects. On the other hand, it's still a cryptocurrency, which means volatility is part of the package. Prices can swing wildly. If you're looking for stability, API3 is not where you'll find it. But if you're looking for asymmetric upside, a chance that a project could 5x or more from here, then API3 belongs on your radar. Investors in the US and globally also see API3 as part of a broader trend toward decentralization of infrastructure. As governments and regulators tighten scrutiny on centralized providers, decentralized oracles stand out as censorship-resistant tools that keep blockchains functioning independently. In a sense, oracles like API3 aren't just useful, they're essential to the ethos of crypto itself, and we can't ignore the community element. API3 is governed by a DAO, meaning token holders steer its direction. That community-driven aspect makes it resilient because decisions aren't locked in the hands of a small group. It also keeps the project adaptable. As market conditions change, the DAO can shift incentives, adjust staking models, and evolve faster than centralized competitors. This flexibility is one reason many investors believe API3 will stand the test of time. In terms of updates, the team continues to announce expansions of AirNode deployments across multiple blockchains, with integrations in Ethereum, Polygon, and beyond. They've also been vocal about building partnerships with traditional API providers who see blockchain as a growth channel. This hybrid of Web 2 and Web 3 collaboration is critical because it makes adoption less theoretical and more practical. If an airline, for instance, can easily provide real-time flight data to a decentralized insurance app through API3, that's not just a crypto experiment. That's a real product solving a real problem. For future predictions, the scenarios branch in two directions. In a conservative scenario, API3 continues to grind higher as integrations grow, eventually reclaiming its previous highs in the $8 to $10 range over the next cycle. In a more optimistic scenario, API3 outpaces competitors and secures a dominant position in decentralized oracles, which could push valuations even higher. Some speculative forecasts put long-term potential between $20 and $30 if everything aligns perfectly. Mass adoption of Web 3, growing reliance on oracles, and API3's Air nodes becoming the industry standard. Of course, those are best-case projections, and markets rarely move in straight lines.